Welcome to today's video in my Understanding Gradle series. Today we'll talk about the very important concept of plugins in Gradle. Gradle comes with a set of powerful core systems, but everything on top is a plugin. We can roughly distinguish between three different kinds of plugins. Core plugins that are delivered with Gradle and can be applied by a simple ID, like the Java library plugin we used in the previous video. Second, community plugins, which are usually located in the Gradle plugin portal. These are applied using a qualified ID and a version, like the Kotlin plugin, which we'll use in this video. Third, convention plugins that you write yourself locally. We'll also talk about these in more detail in this video. So let's take a look at the project we have started to build up in the previous videos. We had defined a project with three subprojects, one for data model, one for business logic, and one for application code. Let's look at the build file of our business logic subproject. We have previously applied the Java library plugin. We could add the Kotlin plugin on top of this if we want Kotlin support. You can see here how we need to define a version, because this is a community plugin that is versioned independent of Gradle itself. Gradle knows that it can fetch this plugin from the Gradle plugin portal because we have defined that in our settings file. But as you can see here, our build file starts to grow. The more plugins we apply and the more plugins we configure, the larger it gets. Also, there's a lot of repetition in the multiple build files of our subprojects. If all our subprojects should build against the same Java version and all have Kotlin support, we would need to repeat all this configuration in each of our build files. To avoid this, we can make use of convention plugins that we define ourselves. In these plugins, we can encapsulate arbitrary build configuration or even custom build logic. To define such convention plugins, we need a separate Gradle build. We do that by creating a new folder, let's call it My Build Logic, which represents a completely separate Gradle build. In our main build, we need to make this build known as a place where Gradle can look for other plugins. We do that in our settings file, as you may remember from the video on that topic. Now let's look at the My Build Logic Gradle build. The build has its own settings file to define where dependencies of this build are located. In our case, we want to have access to community plugins, so we add the Gradle plugin portal as a repository. We also define one subproject that we will use to define our convention plugins. In the subproject, of course, we create a build file. In the build file, we now apply the Kotlin DSL plugin. This is a Gradle core plugin specifically to write plugins in the Kotlin DSL. There's an equivalent if you want to use the Groovy DSL, as shown here. Because we want to use the Kotlin plugin, we need to define a dependency here in the build file. For convention plugins, normal dependency management is used to find other plugins. This is not well documented at the moment, so it is a bit tricky to find out the right coordinates of the dependencies. If you look this up in the Gradle plugin portal, you can find the coordinates at the very bottom, as shown here in this example picture. Now, as the Kotlin DSL plugin was applied, we can write Gradle scripts inside the Kotlin source folder. We add a script called myjavalibrary.gradle.kts. As you can see, we use the same extensions as we use for the build files. And in fact, everything we can write in a build file, we can write in this plugin. So now we just put all the plugin application and configuration that we defined in our build file previously into this convention plugin. The name of the file will become the ID of the plugin, which we can now use in all of our subprojects. We can change all of our subprojects' build files to apply our own My Java library plugin. And now we automatically share all the common configuration in our build files and can change it in one single point. As with build files, you have the full power of the Kotlin language available here to write your convention plugin. And because we are in the Kotlin source folder here, we can extract code into separate files or even separate classes. That's all about the basics of plugins, and in particular, writing your own convention plugins. This allows you to keep your build configuration structured and maintainable without blowing up your build files. In future videos, we will look at different aspects to customize Gradle to your own needs through your own plugins. That's it for today. Please leave comments or suggestions for future videos in the comments. See you next time when we will actually run a Gradle build.